Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, so if you're completely exhausted by the waiting game that is the modern tech job hunt, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're taking a completely different approach. We're going to take you from feeling like an outsider, just hoping someone notices your resume, and turn you into an absolute insider equipped with a highly strategic three-part playbook. Look, we've all been there, right? You meticulously fill out every single field, fire off your resume to 47 different companies, and crickets. You hear absolutely nothing back. Or maybe you just get slapped with a sterile, automated rejection email. It's incredibly frustrating. It literally makes you feel invisible.
But here's the wild thing. There is a reason you aren't hearing back, and it's a huge one. Get this. A staggering 60 to 70% of internships are never even posted publicly. Let that sink in. The real opportunities, they aren't sitting on some job board waiting for you. They're hidden. They're locked behind email addresses you just don't have yet. The hitting market is where all the real action happens.
So, how do we fix this? Here's our game plan for today. First, bypassing the black hole. Second, the RIPS email framework. Third, acing behavioral interviews. And fourth, mastering system design. Let's dive right in. Starting off with Section 1, bypassing the black hole and tapping into that hidden job market.
Now, you might be wondering, why on earth would a busy VP or some senior engineer take time out of their crazy day to read an email from a student? Well, psychologists actually have a name for it. It's called the helper's high. People genuinely want to help out because it makes them feel good. It validates their own hard-won career path. But, and this is a massive but, they only get that feeling if you validate their specific expertise first. Check out the math on this. Firing off a generic template will maybe get you a dismal 1 to 2% response rate. But if you send a highly personalized email, that skyrockets your response rate up to between 7 and 12%. And the crazy part is, once your system is set up, the time investment is exactly the same. Personalizing your outreach is an absolute game changer for your return on investment. Which leads us straight into Section 2, the RIPS email framework. This is how you do cold emailing that actually works. So instead of just sitting there, staring at a blank screen and agonizing over what to say to these busy pros, you use this, RIPS. It stands for Research, Introduction, Personalization, and a Specific Ask. Now, the absolute magic here happens in the personalization step. This isn't just about saying, oh, I love your company's mission. Nope, it's about validating their hidden work. Think along the lines of mentioning a technical blog post they authored, or maybe a niche conference talk they gave. And then comes the ask. Listen carefully. Keep the barrier incredibly low. Please, whatever you do, do not ask for an internship. Ask for a quick 15-minute chat, or maybe just to answer a couple of specific questions. Just think about how these two approaches compare. A bad intro goes something like, I'm interested in opportunities at your company. Yawn. Everyone says that. But a good intro, a smart intro, it sets the hook immediately. Imagine opening an email that starts with, I read your Medium post about scaling microservices. Boom. Right out of the gate, you prove you did your homework and you validate their specific brainpower.
But here's the catch. Sending just one email is never enough. You absolutely need a follow-up system. We're talking a quick bump on day 3, an add value email on day 7, and finally, the breakup email on day 14. Why go through all that trouble? Because the data tells us that a whopping 80% of positive responses come from follow-ups. If you throw in the towel after one email, you're leaving a ridiculous amount of opportunity on the table. Trust me, persistence pays off big time.
Okay, moving on to Section 3, acing behavioral interviews. It's time to pass that soft skills test. So your cold email worked like a charm and you finally got your foot in the door. Now what? To pass the behavioral interview flawlessly, we rely on the STAR method. Look, interviewers really don't want to hear generalized, rambling stories where you totally lose your train of thought. They need structured proof of your soft skills, and the STAR method feeds them exactly what they crave by breaking your narrative down into a situation, task, action, and result. Let's walk through those 4 steps real quick. First, you lay out the situation using very specific details to set the scene. Second, you clearly define the task. What was the actual goal you were trying to hit? Third, and this is absolutely critical, the action. You have to focus on what you did. Seriously, always use the word I, not we. The interviewer needs to know your exact individual contribution. And finally, you tie it all up with a neat little bow, the result. Let's talk about a great example from a student who worked at their college newspaper, The Review. When hitting the action and result, they said, I designed a new promotional packet. We signed contracts with 15 former advertisers and increased new advertisers by 20%. See what they did there? They took direct, unapologetic credit with I designed, and then they backed it up with hard, positive numbers to absolutely crush the result portion. That is exactly what a hiring manager wants to hear.
All right, final stretch. Section 4, Mastering System Design, the dreaded technical interview. Passing the behavioral round is awesome, but it's really only half the battle. For tech candidates, the ultimate boss fight is the open-ended technical interview. There's rarely one single right answer, and because it's so open-ended, it can be straight-up terrifying. Enter the 7-step system design interview framework. It's essentially a blueprint that forces you to systematically address scale, reliability, and functionality, keeping you totally grounded even when you're sweating under immense pressure. Let's focus on Step 1, clarifying requirements. Before you draw a single box, you must divide your questions into functional and non-functional requirements. Nailing down the core features up front versus understanding the expected latency or the user scale completely prevents you from designing a system that's wildly off target. You absolutely have to establish those boundaries before you start building. Once you know exactly what you're building, you move into these essential early steps. Step 2 is all about estimating scale, with some quick back-of-the-envelope math. Say you estimate the system needs to handle 5,800 tweets per second, or maybe it needs to store petabytes of media data. Well, that directly informs steps 3 and 4. It tells you right away whether your APIs and your data schemas, like whether you decide to go with SQL or NoSQL, need to be engineered for massive horizontal scaling. After you've modeled the data, you get to sketch the high-level architecture. This is where it all comes together. User requests come flying in, hitting a load balancer first. From there, the traffic gets smartly distributed across stateless application servers. You've got caches in there for lightning-fast retrievals. And finally, those robust databases and object storage handling the persistence layer. It paints a picture of a complete, beautifully scalable system. To wrap the whole thing up, we hit steps 6 and 7, the deep dive and the stress test. This is your chance to geek out on crucial trade-offs. Back to our social media example. Do you use fan out on write, which makes reading super fast but eats up tons of storage? Or do you go with fan out on read, saving space but potentially slowing down those timeline loads? This is also where you proactively hunt down single points of failure before your interviewer even brings them up. That right there, that's how you prove you have real engineering foresight. So here's the big question to leave you with. Are you ready to stop applying passively and start creating your own opportunities? You literally have the exact playbook in your hands right now. Bypass the black hole using the RIPS cold email method, ace those behavioral questions with the STAR method, and totally dominate the technical rounds with the 7-step system design framework. Don't wait around for someone to pick you. Get out there, use these tools, and go build the exact career you want.